Hi and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Wake Up Well. If you've been tracking with us over the last couple of months, you know that we've been sort of deep diving into the Beatitudes of Jesus. For me, they are the zenith of his teaching here on earth. And I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts connecting the words of Jesus, but also another sort of famous figure in the Bible, King David. So I want to read to you Luke chapter 6, verse 21, and then go all the way back to Psalm 30, just to share a couple of thoughts that I think are kind of interconnected here and how they apply and how they're relevant for us today. So Luke chapter 6, 21 says, Blessed are you who hunger now, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. There's this sort of juxtapositional kind of contrast of feeling very low, of being hungry. There's that hunger element, and then there's weeping, a deep sadness. And we see throughout the life of David that these similar things happen throughout his life, not only when he is a shepherd boy, but through his sort of journey to becoming king. And as you may well know, that David spent many, many years on the run from King Saul. And as a fugitive, he had faced sort of very tremendous affliction and persecution. And it was in this season that David wrote some of his most honest and most emotional psalms. You know, I believe that we are created to have feelings, to be an emotional, we are created with deep emotions. And David is very visceral in a lot of the sort of imagery that he uses when he's experiencing a tremendous amount of pain. And even though David had sort of God had delivered David from the hands of his enemies, including King Saul, on numerous occasions after ascending to the throne. So even when he had sort of stepped into his promise to be the king of Israel, David grew complacent and he became spiritually kind of lax. He thought himself sort of secure. Now that he had ascended to the throne, he thought he was maybe inoculated from those previous kind of emotions that he'd had before. And it says in Psalm 30, verse 6, he recognizes this. He has a great deal of self-awareness here. And he says, Now as for me, I said in my prosperity, I will never be moved. Now, according to the treasury of David, when God's children prosper in one way, they sort of generally tried another. For few of us can sort of bear unmingled prosperity. You know, prosperity comes with great responsibility in how we respond to the blessings of God given to us. And so as we see, as David grows in sort of his sort of self-assured and is satisfied during his season of prosperity, God intervenes. And he challenges him to return his eyes to the Lord. And unlike many, however, David understood that his struggle was not God trying to tear him down or to take him out. Rather, God was humbling David at this point and allowing him to be tested as a means of growing him and strengthening his spirit. This, of course, aligns really interestingly with the theology of James, who wrote, Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, and you may be mature and complete and lacking in nothing. It's the same thread, the same thought that we see in the scriptures. In the midst of sort of David's personal struggle, when things seem to be darkest and most uncertain, he writes in verse 5 of Psalm 30, For his anger is but for a moment, his favour is for a lifetime. Weeping may last for the night, but a shout of joy comes in the morning. I believe that is a direct echo of the beatitude in Luke 6. I love that phrase, but his anger is just for a moment, but his favour is for a lifetime. As someone who experienced sort of a lifetime of heartache and godly favour at the same time, David wrote from his experience, knowing that any pain, anxiety and struggle that he would face in life would only be temporary. Even in his most darkest and most desperate hours, David had called out to the Lord, and God, every single time, answered him. No night lasts forever. The sun will always rise. The dawn comes with the dawn comes the blessing and the favour of God and the favour of the Father, who is hard at work to bless, to strengthen and deliver us, his children. David has seen this time and time again. And I think that's a real distinct word for us this morning. We might feel hopeless. Life may not be perfect, comfortable, or free of pain, and struggle not even for the most faithful servants of God. But in the midst of our pain and uncertainty and fear, God is always with us and working for us. Now, we may feel hopelessness. We may feel discouraged this morning. We may feel afflicted in this moment and unable to see the light. But as Jeremiah, the prophet, wrote these words, these are the words that I hope that will graft themselves onto our heart and to our spirit this morning. Jeremiah 17, 7-8. He says, "Blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and their confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green and they never stop producing fruit." And then David says in verse 11 of Psalm 30, these wonderful words, and he would continue, "You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have loosened my sackcloth and girded me with gladness." So take hope this morning, everyone, and may those words of scriptures bless you, no matter where you are, whether you're feeling hopeless or you're feeling anxious about new things happening in the world. If you're rooted in Jesus, He will that morning will turn, or that evening will turn into morning, and you'll see the promise of God fulfilled in your life. God bless you all.